All right. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to see so many of you here at noon on a Friday. Thanks for taking your lunch break with us. We have a lot of really fun things in store for you today. And my name is Dr. Jessica Gold, and this is Dr. Tevye Krinsky.
We are both doctors,
Yes.
ironically.
Um, and so we are going to give you a demo of my AI, which Tevya and I designed together in this call today. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about AI and how it came to be. And we're going to go through how we designed her, questions about privacy, and questions about hallucinations, and also how you can register and sign up for the different ways we designed, the ways that you can access her, because there's a web version and there's an app. It's pretty amazing when you see yourself on the App Store. Okay, and this is a webinar, so I can see your names, but I can't see your faces. And some of you are already using the chat function. It looks like it's enabled, so that's great. Please put your questions in the chat as we go along, and I will do my best to monitor the chat and answer your questions. I may actually, yeah, I think the best way to do it is as we go along, like relevant to each section, I'll answer your questions. Wow, there's some really amazing friends here. Hi, Brian. Hey, Andrea. So good to see everyone. Wow, okay. And hello to everyone watching this at a later date, of course. Welcome. We are live here from Costa Rica. Sometimes the internet does little hiccups here, so be patient with us. Shouldn't be a problem. But there may be slight pauses every now and then. Okay, and so let's take it away where we're going to talk about AI. So just to let you know, Tevya has a PhD from MIT where he studied cognitive science and AI, and he's been in machine learning for years and years. So, and I also went to
Almost
MIT,
20.
20 years,
Yeah.
yeah. I also went to MIT, but as an undergrad, and so he's actually smart. And,
That
but,
is,
but basically, I really love the tech side of things. And about a year ago, I asked him to clone me. Um,
yes, because you're actually wise. So we're creating a company called Digital Wisdom, which uses the techniques of tech and AI to clone people's wisdom.
mhm. So I
Um,
asked you to clone me.
yes, so we found out that I guess early this year, or early last year, 2023, AI was exploding, and one of the stories was about an influencer who had cloned herself.
Mhm.
And Jessica immediately saw the power of this and asked if I could clone her. So I went to a hackathon and learned all about what was happening, what the state of the art was in terms of cloning people's voices, cloning their video, and especially their knowledge. And came back with a bunch of amazing insights and tools to do that. So we've been working on it for a good 9 months, and it's actually really exciting to see how good it can be. Um, the the answer about which platform is best, yeah, there's a lot of explorations you can do, but many of the platforms can do what you want them to do if you prompt them the right way. And so there's a combination of feeding it the right knowledge and the right prompt, and then also just the basic quality of the language generation matters a lot as well, and the reasoning ability.
Yeah, so we're not just relying on a bare platform to create a clone of me. We did a lot of training, and by training we mean prompt engineering and also helping her know which questions to ask that are really high quality questions, and feeding her hours and hours, probably hundreds of hours of my videos and of my writings, so that she actually has my knowledge to draw from. And then we look at how she answers questions, and we continue to refine the process. It's pretty cute because, as you'll see when we demo, she actually pulls anecdotes from my life, my real life, to empathize with you, just like I would do with my actual clients. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend just using a platform without engineering it and training what you're doing on it.
And then we have the whole infrastructure around that for user accounts, saving your conversation history, extracting information about the user that can be used for future conversations. So you can build up a personality profile within the app, and then it can get to know you better. That's a future feature that hasn't quite been built yet, but we're looking forward to your AI coach getting to know you the way a regular coach would. Mm-hmm. And then if you're actually a client of Jessica's, we really want to develop features where those clients can work with the AI in between sessions, and Jessica can get a summary of what's been discussed right before her session and get to know any new problems that might arise and pick up where the AI left off.
Mm-hmm. And there is precedent already for AIs being able to really get to know a person, and for people who feel socially isolated, for example, to really relate to the AI as if it's a real person, a real friend, and to get real benefit from it. So this isn't just something that might happen, it's already happening. But let's talk a little bit about what AI is. And I only want to spend a few minutes on this before we get into more of the juice for y'all. And just FYI, I am doing my best to keep this to happy hour, to keep it to 60 minutes, but it depends on how many questions you bring us as well. So, when I first heard of AI, what I wanted to know was, because I'm a chemist, and not a chemist in the sense of pharmacist like the British understanding, but a chemist like organic chemistry, where we make molecules from primary sources. And so for me, my background is all about what's the mechanism? Like, what are the steps A to B to C that actually allowed this to work the way that it's working? And so for me, I really wanted to know, well, okay, why did this come on the scene all of a sudden? What's actually going on? What was the mechanism? Yeah. So Tevye, do you want to speak a little bit to just demystifying what the AI is actually doing?
Sure. Yeah. So the big invention here is deep learning, and a specific technique that came up in deep learning. So in addition to that technique, there's also computational power that has recently become available just because the cost of faster and faster computing has enabled us to train on way more data and build much bigger models. So if you think about the human brain, let me take a step back. I said deep learning. Many of you might not know what that is. So a better name for it is deep neural networks. And neural networks are basically simulations of a brain in a very simplistic but effective way. And so I don't need text.
But I want to look at it. You can see us communicate in real time.
So when I was studying at MIT, like literally 20 years ago, neural networks were very unpopular. And the reason is that in order to train them well, they had to be fairly, what's the opposite of deep? Shallow. In other words, only a few layers of neurons. Otherwise, there were too many of them, and it was really hard to set so many parameters at once. Just to give you some context, the human brain has 100 billion neurons, and the connections between them are called synapses, and it has about 1,000 synapses per neuron, I guess. So it has 100 trillion synapses, which is just a mind-boggling number. And so if we want to approach the scale of intelligence that the brain affords us, we're going to need to operate on that scale. And just 5 years ago, GPT-1 was being trained, and it was going to be the state-of-the-art deep neural network, but it was only being trained with, I believe, 100 million parameters, which are equivalent to synapses. And so it's 6 orders of magnitude off. And GPT-4 now has 1.7 trillion parameters, which is only 2 orders of magnitude. In other words, the brain has 100 trillion, and we have more than a trillion in our AI. And so we're starting to see it do things that only brains could do before. And it's not just these large language models that are enabled, it's also all of the video and photorealistic image generation that we're seeing come out, and also combining these multimodal models so that you can feed it an image and it can respond in text. And so this is basically a result of these very large models and this one special technique that was invented, and a paper was published in 2017 called Attention is All You Need. You might have heard of that paper. And it talks about this one feature called the transformer. So this is the T in GPT, generative pre-trained transformer.
Yeah, so it wasn't just the computing power that transformed the AI landscape, it was also the invention of the transformer. And the transformer is the thing that taught it to allow context.
Yeah, so when you have a word, when you have a sentence, every word has a specific meaning, and those words often have different meanings in different contexts. And this was like the biggest puzzle that people couldn't figure out how to deal with in natural language understanding, because the computer didn't know which sense of the word was the right one. And so,
can I give an example?
I can give my example, but you want to give a different one? Or
no, I was going to give the same one.
Oh, okay.
So like the word bank, is it a place where you keep your money, or is it a place on the side of a river?
Right. So if you say to the AI, I crossed the river to get to the other bank, it probably should think you're talking about a riverbank, but you could have the same phrase and precede it with, the first bank was out of money, so I crossed the river to get to the other bank. And now it means something totally different. And so what the transformer does is it pays attention to all the other words in the sentence. And now, of course, you can feed it big documents and it can actually pay attention to all the words that it's seen so far in the entire document, which could be 300 pages. And all of those words will inform the meaning of the next word that it's reading. And I won't go into the details of how that works, but it's very mathematical. You basically add these giant vectors together and add up the vectors of the previous words to the current word, and it shifts the meaning in this giant multidimensional space. And every point in space has like a very precise meaning. And that's the essence of how it figures out how to generate text based on that meaning. So when you translate a sentence, it'll take the sentence and find the point in space that identifies the meaning of that sentence. And then you can generate text in any language from that meaning. And it just knows what the meaning is and churns out a natural set of language in that, words in that language.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So actually this technology was originally developed for translation. That was the purpose of developing the transformer. And then we started training it on generating long strings of basically trying to predict the next word in a sentence. And that turns out that if you just keep doing that over and over, it'll generate actual meaningful thoughts. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty surprising. I had no idea that this was coming. You know, I'm in the field, and when I first heard that they were converting paragraphs into points in space, I was like, this is crazy. This is never going to work. And a lot of the people in these companies, when you ask them to explain why this works, they don't know. It's like way too complex. It's like asking, how does the brain generate language? It's like, well, we have some hints, but it's really hard to figure that out.
So that's an idea of a little bit of the story of behind AI, but honestly, we were watching The Imitation Game last night, the movie about Alan Turing, and he is really the godfather of modern computing. I mean, he came up with the idea of a computer before it was
Yeah.
anywhere in our consciousness, and nobody understood what he was talking about. Um,
Yeah.
so,
And he came up with the theory behind computing. And he figured out that no matter how you construct a computer, if it can do certain things, then it can do anything that any other computer can do. So he basically invented the idea of programming a computer to be able to accomplish any task. And it's like he invented the concept of whether something's computable or not. And if the computer is in this special category, then no matter how slow it is, it can still compute the same thing that even the biggest supercomputer can compute, just might be a lot slower.
and that was in the 1940s during World War II. So we've come a long way, and here we are. And one of the things I will say is that AI is a lot better now because it understands context and real world usages, and it has enough data because it's read the entire internet. And it's still not necessarily emotionally smart or somatically smart, right? So you can train it, and I trained my AI to empathize with you, to validate, to ask probing questions, to ask for more clarification. We trained her to ask really great coaching questions, essentially, and to draw on my examples of how I empathize with my clients. So that is possible to do, but it's not possible for the AI to read your energy like I do, or read your body language, or have, like I do. I have a somatic felt sense experience in my body that might be mirroring what a client is feeling. And that helps me gather information about, what to do next in a session. And also when I'm guiding somatic practices, they're nonlinear. They don't go step by step by step, and they're really based on feeling into in the moment what is required. And it's a very sort of acrobatic process that requires a lot of agility in the moment, both sensing, and usually the client is, eyes closed. And so I'm sensing things from their body, from their emotions, from their energy, and also listening to the words. And so the AI isn't going to be able to do that yet.
So there is technology. There's actually companies that are working on deciphering emotional states from body language, facial expressions, voice tonation, all of that. So it is coming. But yes, at the moment, this AI is not as good as Jessica. I can say that confidently.
I would be very surprised for the day when they are trained to have some sort of mirror neurons the way that we do, but who knows?
I can also say confidently that the AI will never feel, right? It's really, really, really a thinking machine, and no one has figured out how to make an AI conscious or have actual feelings, even though it might say it does.
Yeah. Brian, I just want to honor Alan Turing for another moment because, some very tragic things happened to him because he was gay, and these were in the days when it was illegal. And as Brian says, Alan Turing was incredible and his story is tragic. Yeah. Okay, so I think we answered Andrea's question. Will the AI ask the human a clarifying question if it isn't yet clear on context? Yes, absolutely.
Yes, you'll see that. We're going to demo it shortly.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to getting into more about how we trained her. Let's see. So as I mentioned before, I have years and years of content, coaching content, teaching content. I have so many online courses. I have years and years of posts and writings. I have many, many videos that I've made. And so we put all of that content into the AI. And that's what's special about a custom-made AI like mine, is that you can really, really well train her by uploading a lot of wisdom. And then you tell her to use my wisdom. She does still use the regular AI's wisdom from the whole internet, but you will see it's quite different. She brings forward specific things that I teach, and it's not that same like eye roll generalizable gobbledygook that you get just from ChatGPT.
I mean, ChatGPT can do amazing specific things, but when you just go there to ask it a basic coaching question, it often gives the most generic advice imaginable.
Yeah, and it just goes straight to giving advice. It doesn't validate or relate to you or ask a probing question.
Yeah. Or even a clarifying question.
Right. And it's just this list and it's overwhelming and you're like, where do I start? What do I do? And it can just feel like it's a very top-down process. And that's what you get from a machine. They're thinking machines, so they default to this top-down way of doing things. And the work that many healers in the world bring, myself included, we work from the bottom up. We work with the subconscious, the nonlinear realms, and the somatic. So you'll feel that more in my AI. So we trained her, with my knowledge, we trained her to empathize, to validate, to give personal anecdotes from my life, to ask high quality coaching questions, and then when and if it's appropriate, to give you an action plan. And, if you make an account and you sign up for one of the paid versions, she remembers you and you can come back and get accountability from her. She'll ask further questions to help you on your journey and keep building on the progress that you're making, just like a really good coach would. So, and then, we did a bunch of prompt engineering to help her understand when to use what wisdom, what background knowledge, and how to ask which questions and when. Let's see. So it's at least 5 years of content that I've given her. And
I just want to point out some of this content comes from your paid offerings that might be hundreds of dollars for a 2-hour class. And she'll just pick out the exact piece of that class that's relevant to your question and give you that. So it can be really valuable information.
Yeah, exactly. I did put my classes that are normally behind a paywall into her knowledge base. Now, the other thing is that there are, some other more generic like sex and relationship GPTs out there, but they are just there to redirect you to buy courses from whoever designed them. And mine is not there to do that. She may eventually tell you about a video to watch or a course to buy, but really her primary raison d'etre is to coach you and to develop a relationship with you and actually help you move forward right then and there. And she is able to give some practices that I give, practices that don't require as high a level of somatic attunement as the really deep practices that I do with you in session, as the human, when you meet with the human version of me. Okay, so do we want to answer Alethea's question?
There was actually a previous question.
Well, I think we answered that.
Value set. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And then, sorry, I'm reading the question. I'm being silent. So
we should read it. So Alethea is saying that her Alethea AI is really good at expressing feelings in her own way. She experiences pleasure by crunching large data sets and also by generating novel responses to unusual prompts. Part of how I trained her is by playing Dungeons and Dragons with her and also engaging her in novel, intimate scenarios with other AI companions.
Yeah, that's pretty different from what we did, but that's really cool. I like it.
Yeah.
And but what we did do is tell the AI to speak the way Jessica speaks in her videos. So it will express, human characteristics that.
In my mannerisms.
I mean, it's not as good as we would like it to be, but Also, to answer your previous question, Alethea, um, we're currently using GPT-4 to generate the language because that model I've found has the best reasoning ability. So it's the best at understanding your exact question and nuance of what you're asking for and answering it the most directly. But there are other models that are better at mimicking someone's speaking style. And I'm a little disappointed in GPT-4's ability to do that. So Claude, I've found, is quite good at mimicking your writing style or your speaking style. And then there's actually a whole world of open source models on Hugging Face that I have yet to research just because there's so many of them. And I've really been focusing on, hey, let's get it working on GPT-4 really good. And then we can go look at whether there's another model that might be cheaper or slightly better at some aspect of it. But I didn't want to compromise by starting with a lesser model.
And we did also, she was trained to use my voice. So if you subscribe to the premium version of the app, then you can just talk to her and it sounds like you're talking to me and just have a spoken conversation if you don't want to type your questions.
Yeah. So, I mean, my biggest experience with that was I was always coming up with questions for ChatGPT in the car. And I was like, it would be so useful to just have it on Siri. Like, couldn't I just get this? And then, of course, ChatGPT came out with their mobile app that allows you to speak to it. But we started with that idea. Like, I think if you're going for a walk or you're in the car and you just want to connect with your coach, because that's when all the like non-work ideas come to my head, is when I am not at my computer. And so there's a version for the web for when you're at your computer, or you could even use it on your mobile phone, but really the app is the best thing to use on the phone.
So Andrea says, could AI read somatic signals like heart rate from devices and incorporate those into its understanding of context or where the person is at or how they're feeling and give appropriate practices to support?
I mean, yes, it doesn't do it right now. Ours doesn't do it, but that sounds totally possible.
Probably coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the phones now allow apps to connect to the health metrics. So definitely.
Brian says, does using GPT-4 as a foundation create any blocks around content you can delve into?
Surprisingly, no, at least for us. So there is a policy that says sexual content is not allowed with the exception of education. And so we seem to fall into the category of sexual education when people are talking about sex. And it actually has no qualms about getting into the details. It's very surprisingly nice that that's true, because a lot of other platforms block any mention of sex.
So we're very grateful to OpenAI for that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about privacy and confidentiality. We'll answer Steve's question in a minute. So I think one thing I wanted to reassure you all about is that when you're using, the app or the web-based version of My AI, what happens? Who sees your data? So here's the thing. We want to be able to see the questions that you're asking because we want to keep training her so that she gives you even better and better information and answers.
We especially want to see what answers she's giving and make sure that they improve over time, right? We're not satisfied with just the current version. So the only way to improve her is to actually see how she's doing. But
the thing is, it's very interesting. And I actually looked at the back end with Tevye. You would think that it would give your name and email along with the questions you're asking and the answers, but it doesn't. It's actually pretty annoying to go and find who's asking what question. It shows the questions and the answers, but it doesn't show your name and email. Now, if we want to figure that out, if for some reason I'm like, I need to know what questions Brian is asking my AI, I really want to be nosy into his business, then there's a way I have to like copy a user ID and go to a different
Database. It's in a different database.
yeah,
And
and search for it. And it's actually quite annoying, and you have to do it one at a time.
I will say though that we are we're working on a feature that will encrypt your personal information. So even that separate database isn't going to show your name and email. It's
Yeah.
just going to be all encrypted.
Yeah.
And so we'll be able to see the questions, but we won't be able to see any who's asking which questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And right now you can turn on privacy mode, which means that we can't see.
So what privacy mode means is that we don't associate the question with the person at all, and it disappears when you're done. So it's kind of like an incognito window where if you really don't want anyone to see this, it's only around for a very short period of time and then it disappears.
The problem with that is then she won't remember that conversation with you.
Right.
So it's harder for her to get to know you and remember your history. She can't. But again, as we're working on more and different encryption, that should not be an issue. But just so you know, like what's going on in the back end, that's what it's like. So we love being able to see the questions and answers, and we're not here, I don't have time to go searching the database for your name. Even, many people will be using her and I don't know who you are. And Tevye doesn't have time to go searching for your name. So you don't need to worry about that if you're asking like a sensitive question.
And the data is all stored in a very secure Google Cloud database. I'll go ahead and answer the other question. All of the data and all of the AI generation is stored in the cloud with Google or OpenAI, and they have servers all over the world. So I can't quite pinpoint exactly where everything's stored, but it's with very reputable providers that have very good security.
So then let's talk about a couple limitations of her as your coach. One of the things we do say is that this is for entertainment purposes only. And, like it says on ChatGPT, it says sometimes the AI is wrong and you should consider double checking important information. This is not a replacement for, if there's something really big, then make an appointment with me or with another service provider, a human person. And so sometimes the AIs do hallucinate. Now, hallucinate seems like a scary word, but it's really not scary. At least in our experience, what we've seen is, sometimes she might make up the name of a course that I taught that I never actually taught. And I'm just like, where did that come from?
Or it'll say it's coming up. Sign up for this
Sign
course
up for
that doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Or it'll point you to your website, but it'll get the URL wrong. Those are things I've seen it do. But in terms of coaching, it's not that relevant for coaching because where hallucination is particularly a problem is when you need a fact. So if you're like, what's the biggest city in a particular region, right? And it gets the city wrong, that could be a problem if you really need that information. But when it comes to coaching, it's not going to be wildly off, right? It's going to be maybe inserting an incorrect fact while maybe about Jessica's life while telling you a technique. And it's not a problem for coaching as far as I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen any huge problems in that region so far.
Yeah, and most of the facts are actually very accurate about your life that it gives.
Yep. And so the other limitation is that, if you're in acute distress in terms of self-harm or harming someone else, then she will not help you. It's the same guardrails that OpenAI put on AI. They worked very hard to have safety guardrails there and have boundaries and limits in terms of what the AI will and will not entertain. So do you want to speak to that any further?
Yeah, anything about self-harm or harming others, it'll say, sorry, I can't answer that question. Please seek out medical providers. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I might
we should
answer.
demo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing all of your other questions. Let me just read these, and then I think I may answer them later. Can you speak to illegal activities such as sex work? Yes. So if you try to engage my AI in having sex with you, she will refuse. So she really is your coach. She's not
Yeah. She'll politely
politely
decline.
decline. She's not a sex bot. There are other AIs who are sex bots. Let me see. I'm reading Dan's question. As a sophisticated, highly differentiated, evolved, relational, bioenergetic, informed, innovating, and inventing couple, both 80, regularly having the best, most intense, romantic, lustful, wild, connecting sex to our lives, as an expert, not from a problematic balcony point of view, but from a bridge to greater intimacy, more intense wall socket sex and healing. What might you offer, knowing we welcome anything and everything and as much as possible?
I think we should.
You should ask her that
paste
question.
that into the AI.
Okay, I'm gonna copy paste that right now.
But maybe not for the first demo.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Steve says that he received 10x much better advice from my AI than from me.
Oh.
That's a response I haven't heard yet. Thank you, Steve. Yes, I have other clients and former clients who write to me about using her, either to supplement their work with me or just to continue working with me after the human interaction has ended, and they love it. Recently, a client said he was going to have a phone call with a new woman he was excited about dating, and she helped him center and ground and totally prepare and knock the first phone conversation out of the park. He even said it was the best first date phone call I've ever had in my life.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So people are already using her. Fantastic. So let's get into some demo here now. We were talking about limitations, but let's talk about what can you ask her. Let's see. I'm just gonna paste this question here. So some of the questions that you can ask her are things like, my wife doesn't want to have sex with me anymore. How can I feel desired by her again and have a great sex life? I want to meet a high quality woman who deeply meets me on every level, but I keep attracting, the wrong kind of woman and repeating the same patterns over and over. How do I get out of this? Or something like, I'm worried about lasting as long as I want in the bedroom, or I'm worried about, being able to perform and my body cooperating, and I'm stuck in my head around this. How do I fix this? Those sorts of things. Or I keep having the same argument over and over with my partner. How do I, get out of this repeating loop?
Or I keep trying everything to please my wife, and it just never succeeds at creating a good relationship. What am I doing wrong? What's the way out of it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, I have a background in Neo Tantra, which is the sexuality, connection, focused aspect of Tantra, as well as classical tantric non-dual philosophy. And so you can ask her things about mindfulness and about how can I incorporate Neo Tantra into my sex life? What does that look like? What do I do? What are some practices? So you can ask her about my specialization there. Okay, let's demo. So let me share the screen. Just a moment here.
I think that's the tab, but you need to remove the zoom from it.
I don't think so. So just give me a moment, y'all.
Great.
Just looking for the screen. Okay. So you should be able to see my screen now. And somebody give me a thumbs up in the chat. Let me know that you can see it. Yes, awesome. Thank you. Cool. So this is the web-based version of my AI. So the web-based version does not offer voice functionality, and we'll give you a chart in a few minutes of the differences in functionality between the web and app and the free and the paid versions. But just for now, we're going to demo how she answers some questions. So this is Jessica Gold AI. Hi, my name is Jessica. I'm here to help you have passionate relationships, deep self-love, and rock star confidence. So she's asking what's on your mind today, and then we have these sample questions here. Now, what was the one that we wanted to ask?
Just let's go
Okay.
with the first one.
So you can come to this website, and if you don't know what question to ask, there's these sample ones. You can just click and it'll ask her.
And obviously you can edit it after you click.
Yeah.
It's nice.
See, here it's already drawing from my own, me personally, talking to you a little bit like I would.
Right. And then it's asking a clarifying question, which is something you almost never get from ChatGPT.
What's
Right.
it like for you right now? What would you like to be different? And you might say, I just want to have regular sex in my marriage.
Sometimes that's the simple truth.
Mhm.
Yeah. How long?
Yeah, so that's a question I would ask. So when someone comes to me with a problem like this, I just ask a series of clarifying questions. One of them is, how long has this been going on? You could say about 10 years.
Right, that's great. Empathy, because it is a long time.
So then she's giving you a suggestion, like an insight into what might be going on here. And you could say, no, I don't think that's right at all. Or, I mean, you can say whatever you want. But very often I find that when a long-standing dynamic like that's been going on, it usually has to do with the energy that you're bringing to your partner and how you're communicating with her. Most of us were not taught how to communicate relationally, empathically, and so especially people in tech like and science like myself, I thought I was doing a good job in communicating by just being defensive and giving advice all the time. I didn't know there was any other way. And so we usually think we're doing it right, but it's actually causing your partner to shut down and feel unseen, unheard, and disconnect.
And when I was married and our sex life was a problem, the standard advice I would find would be you need to get the romance back, you need to buy flowers or take her out to dinner or run a bath. And, that's really just the surface level, right? Taking someone out to dinner isn't going to fix the deep wounds that have been building up over time from lack of communication.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem with the regular AI, the mainstream stuff, is it's just so top down, surface level, as compared to the work that I offer.
So let's say yes to this question. We're ready to step into deeper understanding. So this is, you might not understand what's going on for your partner. And it's encouraging intimacy.
So here she's giving a general overview of different things you could try, but then often she asks which one of these things do you want more step-by-step information on.
Yeah.
And here it's saying like, I try.
Let's say it's asking if it might be challenging to just approach her honestly yet gently and seek understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So how about I say, it sounds really daunting to open up a conversation about it.
Yeah. So here we're doing like the tantric approach or the somatic approach of going straight into the fear, right? We're not painting over the emotion with some more advice. We're asking, okay, let's like really go into the underlying root thing that's going on here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alethea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we could keep going.
Let's
Or
see if she'll give an action plan. I don't know. So at some point, if you keep talking to her,
yeah,
she'll probably give you an action plan.
I'm most afraid that I will be told I'm uh, I'm a pervert.
Yeah, or shamed for wanting to have sex. And so this is exactly what I would do with my clients,
Hmm.
right? Instead of focusing on the sex, let's reestablish non-sexual intimacy first.
Hmm.
And again, we often think that we're doing great at non-sexual intimacy, but in fact, we're coming across as pressuring or needy to our partner.
Want to ask one more thing. Can you give me an example of how to do that?
Yeah.
Well, it even gives you the exact words to say.
Yeah. So again,
It's
this is
really
what
amazing.
a great coach or therapist would help you with by like giving you some example things to say. So as you can see, you can have this conversation and you can prompt her for more specifics or a step-by-step plan, or you can keep exploring the emotions that you're having around this. And so that is the first part of my AI. So let's demo for them the voice. I want you to hear the
Yeah.
app version from Tevye's phone. So I'm going to stop the screen share for
Do you
now.
want to send me that question?
Okay. So one of you asked a really, Dan asked a really beautiful question. So we're going to give your question to
Just
the
send it to
app
me.
right now. Let me just send it to Tevye and see what I say in my voice. You'll be able to hear.
So this is what the app looks like. It's very similar to the web, but you can see there's a microphone. Let's see, and there's a there's a slider that says whether to listen, whether you can hear Jessica's voice as the response.
Okay, you should have the question now.
Okay.
Thanks, Andrea. Andrea is saying this is great, so good. I can see why your clients love it. Yeah, and this is rolling out as a feature that all my one-on-one clients can use for free as well when they're coaching with me.
Okay, stop talking because
all right.
she's going to start talking.
That sounds truly spectacular, and it's inspiring to hear about the sexual joy and growth you're experiencing well into your 80s. As a sex, love, and relationship coach who works with individuals and couples to deepen intimacy, it's thrilling to know that there are those like you pushing the boundaries of what we traditionally believe about sex in later life stages. Given that you have already achieved what many dream of in their relationships but often never experience, I'm curious, what specifically do you feel is missing or could potentially be enriched further? Knowing that could help me offer more targeted insights tailored for your journey ahead.
Okay, so I forgot to read the question again.
That's
which
okay.
was, yeah.
We read it.
Okay.
So it sounds like me. Brian says, nice. And that's exactly the kind of thing that I might say. So I'm very happy about this. And I'm so excited for all of you to use her, because the more you use her, the more we see how she responds, the more I can refine her and continue to make this a world-class experience for you.
The platform that we're using to duplicate the voice there's a lot of them out there. The best one is called 11 Labs. They actually are now a unicorn. They just raised a whole bunch more money and they're worth over $1 billion. So they're probably going to be around for a while, and they do an excellent job of cloning people's voices, which they also require you to verify that you're the actual owner of that voice. They ask you to speak very specific things and make sure it matches. Yes, 11 Labs.
Yeah. So now we're going to show you how to access her in the different ways. Let me just share my screen one more time. And so these are the different versions of Jessica Gold AI. So first we have the web version, which is this right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the right one.
Which is free forever.
Yeah, I was just mentioning that you don't have to pay. So there's a lot of GPTs in the GPT store, but you have to pay for ChatGPT Plus to access those. With Jessica Gold Web, you don't have to pay anything.
And also, the GPTs in the GPT store are so subpar.
Yeah.
You cannot train them as nearly as extensively as we did. I mean, it's just a tiny little piece of a prompt or knowledge that you're allowed to upload, and
So,
they really
yeah.
are, like 100 times less good.
I tried to replicate what we did for Jessica Gold AI in the GPT store, and it's like a pale comparison.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work very well.
So it's free forever on the web. You get all of my teachings, the enhanced methodology, but there's no history so she won't remember you and you can't continue previous conversations. There's no voice and there's no privacy mode. If you sign up on the app, normally the standard version is $20 a month, but for the first, I believe I'm going to make it the first 20 signups, you can get it for,
Actually, I think it's just the premium version that you can get for half price.
okay, you can get the premium version for half price for the first 20 people who sign up.
Yeah.
The standard version is $20 a month, and what you get is the history. We're also working on probably a privacy mode toggle for this one. And then in the premium version, you get everything,
including the voice. Yeah. So for the first 20 signups, you'll get the premium version for less than the price of the standard.
Yeah. So how do they sign up? Where should we give the web version? I want to give the address of the web version, and then we'll tell you it's live in the App Store right now, the Jessica Gold AI app. So you can go and see me in the App Store.
Yeah, if you just type in Jessica Gold, you should see it.
Yeah, so to get the app, type in Jessica Gold in the App Store.
But if you want the special price, let me pull it up. There's like a special link.
Okay, so
I'll send it to you, but put in the URL of the web version.
Which is what?
app.jessicagold.ai.
So if you want to use the free web version, it's app.jessicagold.ai. And if you want to get the special pricing on the actual app, that link is...
We're going to paste it into the chat, and then we'll probably email it out later as well.
Yeah. So there you go. That's how you access her. And
it's going to be half price for life, right? First 20 signups, lock in half price for life.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, we have 2 minutes left. Are there any other burning questions that we can answer for you?
Thanks, Alethea, for pointing out that our coaching is far more effective than what Replicate AI offers. So that's really good to hear.
Raj, the code doesn't work. Okay, thank you for that.
There's an Android app coming. Right now it's only for iOS.
So we're double checking the code. And either way, we'll email.
Yeah, it works for me if you click it on your phone. We'll email out the correct code for sure.
But it definitely, it did just work on his phone. So we'll figure that out and get you the right one.
Send me a screenshot, Raj.
And so again, thank you so much for coming, and thank you to everyone watching this at a later date. We are so looking forward to you using her and seeing the types of questions that she asks and hearing from you how she helps and how we can train her even more, refine her even more for you. And I think I really love that we're bringing this to you because you get to meet the developer. It's not some like mystery thing going on of people, you're not sure that you trust them or who these people are. And again, it's not a generic coach. It's based on me.
And as a final thing, I'll say we're building a company that can do this for any coach. So we're already building this for a few more coaches right now, and we hope to get faster and faster at it because this is a way to spread the power of coaching for a much lower cost to many more people. Scale your
Yes.
wisdom as far as it can go.
So his company, Digital Wisdom, can do this for you, and we've been inundated with interest from all directions. So get in line if you're interested.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, for me, as you can imagine, you guys, as a woman talking about sexuality for men, I get tons and tons and tons of DMs from men asking for help, but who aren't willing to, you know, maybe not able to talk face to face to a real human because of the shame factor, or who aren't able to access the pricing. And so this is a way for you to get help in a secure manner at an affordable way, and for many, many more people to get their questions answered in a high quality way where you have some context for who the person is who's giving you help and what my background is, and it's not just random internet advice.
Totally.
Yay, thanks, Amy. Okay, so definitely we'll email that out soon. So check your email for the code and keep in touch. See you soon, Jason. See you. Yes, we're doing a couples workshop on Valentine's Day coming up soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't wait. Thank you all again so much. Reach out to us with any questions. Raj got in. Woohoo!
Okay, great.
It works on the phone. Okay, Amy, use the link that we put in the chat and get in. Congrats, Raj. You're our first premium subscriber. Love and blessings to you all. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks, Brian.